I get a smile, like, anywhere? Can someone try and look interested? Thank you. Now keep this up for 8 minutes. All right, or don't laugh. That's fine too, I guess. All right. Throughout the course of history, many ships have been labeled as unsinkable. You might think of things like the Titanic. Unfortunately, all of them tend to end up at the bottom of the ocean anyways. Today, I'll be walking you through one of my favorite events of World War II, and that is hunting the Bismarck. This is the battle between the British Navy and the German Navy for what is essentially who's going to win World War II. I'll be walking you through the main 2 engagements of the Bismarck and the British Royal Navy, and we'll even go into a little bit of the tracking of the Bismarck, which some see as the most important event of hunting the Bismarck. To start off, we need to set the stage. This is World War II in the year of 1942, whenever this battle first takes place. As you can see, Germany and the Axis powers have pretty much taken over all of Europe. The only holdouts are the United Kingdom, being Britain right here. It is held on solely by the supply lines between Great Britain and the Americans farther to the west. So, this is the big thing here. The Germans' plan of winning the war is to defeat Britain by cutting off supply lines to America. That is where the Bismarck comes in. The plan is to send it out from Norway, up through the Denmark Strait, into the Atlantic Ocean, and cut off the supply lines and starve Britain out of the war. So this is the situation that Britain is in right now. And for their fleet to defend and defeat the Bismarck, they have 2 main ships for the first engagement. The first one being the Hood. This is the crown jewel of the British Navy. At its time in World War I, it was viewed as the most advanced and the biggest ship that the British had to offer. Even at the time of World War II, it is still incredibly powerful, although it is slightly old and has very weak up-armored deck issues, which become a very big issue in the first engagement. Its second ship is the Prince of Wales. This is the newest ship in the British fleet. It is viewed as fairly advanced, although it is restricted in size due to limitations from the First World War, where ships are only allowed to be a certain size, only having certain smaller guns, and having less armor. That being said, the Prince of Wales has very advanced technology, and as you can see right here, it has very advanced 4-turret guns. Now, on the German side for the first engagement, they have the big ship, the Bismarck. This is the biggest battleship that Germany will ever build in World War II. Unlike the British ships being old and outdated and being considered small, this thing is massive. It breaks all the restrictions of World War II and is almost 5,000 tons over limit. Its second sister ship and accompanying ship is the Prince Eugen. It is about the same size as the Prince of Wales and will accompany Bismarck for the first engagement. This first battle takes place in the Denmark Strait. The Bismarck and Prince Eugen plans to sail up through the Denmark Strait right here, with the British coming from, obviously, Great Britain, to sail around the side of the island and defeat them before they get out of the strait. Unfortunately, this does not go very well, as you might have expected. This is only the first engagement, and it goes very badly. Within the first 3 minutes of the initial fight, the British ship, the Hood, the crown jewel of the British Navy, is bracketed almost instantaneously, within about 3 minutes. Bracketing is a shell hitting either side of the ship, on the stern and the bow, which means that the enemy knows exactly where to place its third salvo, which is directly in the middle of the ship. And that is precisely what happens. A shell from the German ship, the Bismarck, lands right in the center of the Hood and essentially destroys it. Petty Officer Blockley reported that everything was enveloped in smoke except the bow, which was pointed up at 10 degrees. The explosion from the Bismarck hits directly into the center ammunition storage of the Hood and cuts the thing completely in half. Within 3 minutes, the ship is completely underwater with the entire crew sunk. Within just 5 minutes, the crown jewel of the British Navy has been destroyed. And the Prince of Wales must leave too, as directly after the Hood gets destroyed, it takes a stray shell right through the command center, nearly killing the entire commanding crew of the ship. So the Bismarck and the Prince Eugen escape nearly to the Atlantic, having to quickly cut back to the occupied area of France to refuel before it can finally go into the Atlantic Ocean and wreak havoc on supply lines. It is in this point where Bismarck is heading towards the French port to refuel and resupply that it comes under fire from British aircraft carriers. After the sinking of the Hood, British Prime Minister Churchill says the three biggest words of World War II essentially. That is, sink the Bismarck. Every available ship is now hunting Bismarck before it can reach France, refuel, and destroy supply lines. Now, 2 British aircraft carriers are on the way to intercept Bismarck. The first 2 attacks do not go well. The British do not have proper intelligence, almost hitting an American ship the first time and targeting their own British ship the second time. On the third try, however, they do manage to hit the Bismarck right on the back end, managing to block its steering systems, jamming the rudder and forcing it into a hard left turn. This shuts the Bismarck down completely and making it have to stop. At this point, the Prince Eugen, which was accompanying the Bismarck, has left and essentially left the fight, leaving Bismarck stranded, unable to move, with nowhere to go. While its guns are still able to fire, it is ready for its final engagement with the British fleet. Now, obviously, one of the biggest things that helped defeat the Bismarck was stopping it just off the coast of France. And that award of most important airship is from the British Swordfish. While these things were considered outdated for the time, it actually turns out to be a pretty big move. While these planes are considered to be obsolete for the time, this actually ends up working in their favor. Admiral Chatfield, who is in control of the British Navy, states that sending the Swordfish is insane, considering how obsolete they are. However, this works to their advantage. While shells may detonate other aircraft, like this one, it has very thin armor on it, and shells go right through it instead of destroying them completely. So the final event finally happens. The Bismarck goes in and is fought up against 2 other British ships that have now joined the fight. That being the King George and the Rodney. These are 2 big ships accompanied by 2 smaller destroyers, and they do manage to take down the Bismarck. This happens by the Bismarck being solely alone, trying to target 4 different ships simultaneously, and it just cannot do it. Within about 30 minutes, all the guns on the Bismarck have been completely disabled. However, even though it has been fully disabled, it is still not an easy match for the British. It takes a full hour before the British are able to sink the Bismarck completely. During this time, Bismarck takes nearly 3,000 shells. That is a lot of ammunition to put on one ship. But nevertheless, it ends up sinking the Bismarck regardless. This is the hunting of the biggest ship that Germany has ever made in World War II. By sinking this ship, Great Britain secures their life in World War II. By defeating the Bismarck and protecting their supply lines, they are able to continue fighting in World War II. This allows America and Russia to join into the fight to help drive back the Axis powers. I hope this brief example into the hunting of the Bismarck has interested you as it interests me and many other middle-aged dads who love watching World War II documentaries. This is something that interests me greatly, and I hope that you all find some appreciation in these great World War II stories and just how cool they are and how interesting they are, that things like this happen and that we as a society can build things like this. And I hope that you all can appreciate them like I do. And if you do enjoy them, I recommend watching the YouTube channel called Extra History. That is where I learned about this for the first time. And if anyone else is interested, that is the first place that I will go for it.